you know. I've learned something over the years, something they don't teach you in acting school, and you sure won't find it in Hollywood. See, everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard. But the truth is, the real victories in life, they happen in the dark, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching. I didn't get here by chasing applause. I got here by staying grounded in faith, by falling forward, by failing, by learning in silence. Sometimes you got to be okay with walking alone, with sacrificing comfort, with being misunderstood. Because if you're chasing the noise, you're going to miss your calling. And trust me, your calling is always louder than the crowd. So today, I'm not here to teach you how to be famous. I'm here to talk about how to be fulfilled, how to win without the applause. You want to win? Stop waiting for applause. That's something I had to learn the hard way. Early on in my journey, I thought success would come with noise. That once I hit a certain point, the world would stand up, clap, and the lights would shine a little brighter just for me. But let me tell you something real. Most of your growth, most of your strength, it won't come from people praising you. It'll come from silence, from doing the work when no one sees it, from staying committed when the room is empty. That's where champions are made. When I was just starting out, I didn't have fans. I didn't have cameras following me around. I had doubt. I had rejection. I had rooms that didn't open and people who didn't believe. And that's okay, because those moments shaped me. They refined me. If I had gotten applause too early, I probably would have gotten comfortable. Maybe I would have stopped pushing. But I kept going, not because someone told me I was great, but because I believed I had something inside of me that needed to come out, whether the world was ready to see it or not. You can't let applause be the fuel for your fire, because applause dies. People move on. Trends fade. One day they love you. The next they forget your name. If that's what's driving you, you're going to burn out fast. You have to be driven by something deeper. Purpose. Faith. Discipline. I wasn't chasing the spotlight. I was chasing the standard I set for myself. That's a different kind of drive. When you wake up every morning, not trying to impress, but trying to improve, you become unstoppable. There were roles I took that didn't come with awards, but they came with meaning. There were speeches I gave where no one clapped, but someone out there listened. That's enough for me, because it's not about reaching everyone. It's about reaching someone. Sometimes that someone is you. Sometimes you're the one who needs to hear your own commitment loud, who needs to feel your own strength and motion without waiting for someone else to validate it. I remember walking off stage one night after a performance. No curtain call, no standing ovation, just quiet. And for a second I wondered, did I even do good? Did it matter? And then I remembered why I do it. I don't do it for noise. I do it for truth. I do it because it's who I am. That's what it means to win without the applause. To do your best when no one is watching. To walk with excellence even when the road is empty. To keep showing up for yourself long before the world catches on. This world will try to sell you the idea that recognition equals value. Don't buy that lie. Your value isn't determined by claps or likes or awards. Your value is in your intention, in your effort, in your heart. If you know you're giving your all, that's a win. If you know you're giving with integrity, that's a win. If you're pushing forward, growing, healing, serving, without waiting for someone to notice, you're already ahead. Some of my greatest moments came in private. Conversations with my wife, prayers in the dark, quiet mornings where I questioned everything and still chose to keep going. That's what makes you who you are. Not the noise, not the crowds, but the choices you make in the quiet. I don't need applause to know I've done something meaningful. I don't need approval to walk in my calling. And neither do you. Don't be afraid of being overlooked. Don't be afraid of being underrated. That's where the power is. When no one's looking, you can sharpen yourself. You can fail without judgment. You can grow without pressure. Then, when your moment does come, because it will, you'll be ready. Not because the world told you so, but because you already knew. So stop chasing applause. Chase excellence. Chase purpose. Chase the version of you that doesn't need to be seen to be strong, because that's where the real wins live. In the unseen, in the unseen, in the uncelebrated grind. And if you can learn to win there, no stage, no spotlight, no crowd will ever define you. You'll already be full. You'll already be whole. And that, right there, that's victory. You want discipline. You want results. You want to reach a place where your name means something, but too often, you're looking for someone else to tell you you're good enough. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. If you're waiting on someone else's applause, you'll always be chasing shadows. Discipline doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a stage, or a microphone, or a crowd. It doesn't care if your name is in lights. It's what you do when the lights go off, when you're tired, when no one's watching. That's where you find yourself. There were times in my life when I walked into auditions and left with silence. No claps, no callbacks, just silence. I could have said, they don't see me, they don't get me. But I didn't need them to get me. I needed to get myself. I needed to keep showing up day in and day out, even when the door didn't open. That's discipline. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it's powerful. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you build something no one can take from you: character. I remember those nights when I was rehearsing lines in the mirror. No audience, no praise, just me and a vision. I'd get it wrong again, but I stayed with it. Because I understood even then that greatness doesn't come from doing it when it feels good. It comes from doing it when it doesn't. Anyone can show up when it's easy. The question is, will you show up when it's hard? Will you show up when it's thankless? There's a culture today that tells you success is about followers, like going viral. But that's not real. What's real is what happens behind the scenes. What's real is what you do when no one's posting it, when no one's clapping for it. I didn't get where I am because I followed the noise. I got here because I followed discipline. I followed God. I followed what I knew was right, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. People think discipline is a punishment. It's not. It's a gift. It's your way of telling the world, I'm serious about this. It's waking up at 5 to pray, to read, to prepare, not because someone told you to, but because you know who you're becoming, and you respect that person too much to take shortcuts. You don't take shortcuts when you know the destination is sacred. Sometimes I'd walk off a set, and no one would say anything. No good job, no recognition. And yet I knew deep down I gave it everything. And that was enough. You can't let your effort be dependent on someone else's validation. Because people forget. They get distracted. They move on. But discipline, that's yours forever. It stays. It builds. It compounds. And one day you wake up and the world finally sees what you've been building all along. You've got to learn to clap for yourself. You've got to learn to push yourself. If you're relying on someone to motivate you every day, you're already behind. I had to be my own motivator, my own coach. I've had to look in the mirror and say, get up, keep going. You're not done yet. And that voice, the one that whispers when the world is silent, that's discipline. That's what carried me through the dry seasons, through the rejection, through the doubt. And let me tell you this, When you master that, when you no longer need applause to keep moving, you become dangerous. Because now you can't be manipulated by approval. You can't be stopped by criticism. You don't fold under pressure. You don't break from silence. You've trained in it. You've grown in it. You've thrived in it. That's what it takes. That's what winning really looks like. It's not the headline. It's not the headline. It's not the standing ovation. It's the morning you got up after being knocked down. It's the night you stayed focused while everyone else partied. It's the moment you believed in the gift inside you, even when nobody else did. That's how you win. That's discipline. That's power. And it's yours, if you're willing to do the work when no one's watching. I've been in this business a long time, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that applause comes and goes, but character stays with you. I've walked red carpets, held awards in my hands, heard my name called out in standing ovations, but none of that ever defined who I am. Not truly. When the lights go out and the crowd disappears, what's left? That's the question I ask myself. That's the question that separates a performer from a man. And I'm not just talking about acting. I'm talking about life. Because at the end of the day, the applause fades, the cameras stop rolling, and all you're left with is your reflection in the mirror and your character staring back at you. Character isn't built on stages. It's built in silence. It's forged in the quiet moments when nobody's watching. It's built in the choices you make when there's nothing to gain, no reward in sight, and no one to impress. I've had to walk away from roles that didn't speak to me, that didn't align with my spirit. I've turned down money, turned down fame, because I refused to betray what I stood for. That wasn't always easy. In this world, in this industry, people will try to tell you that success means being everywhere, doing everything, chasing the spotlight. But I learned that sometimes the most powerful word you can say is no. No to compromise. No to shortcuts. No to anything that makes you smaller to fit into someone else's idea of success. There's a difference between being liked and being respected. Being liked is easy. Smile enough, say what they want to hear, and people will clap for you. But being respected, that comes from consistency, from standing on your principles, even when it costs you something, even when it costs you everything. Respect comes when people see you don't waver, when they know that no matter the circumstance, no matter the pressure, you will not break your word. You will not sell your soul. I'd rather be respected in silence than applauded for something I'm not proud of. There were times I was criticized for the roles I didn't take, times when people said I was too picky, too serious, too focused on meaning, but I didn't care because I wasn't chasing fans. I was chasing fulfillment. I wasn't interested in being a star. I was interested in being a man of substance, a man my children could look up to, a man who could sleep at night knowing he didn't compromise. You don't build a legacy by following the crowd. You build it by walking your path, even when it's lonely, even when it's uphill, even when it's silent. And let me tell you something, the silent victories, they mean the most. That time you helped someone and told no one. That time you resisted temptation when no one would have known. That time you chose patience instead of pride. That's where real character is born. Not on the stage, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the struggle, in the decision to be better, even when there's no one watching. It's easy to perform. It's hard to persevere. It's hard to stay rooted in your values when everyone around you is chasing applause. But I learned this through failure, through falling, through being humbled, that if you build your life on applause, you will crumble when it stops. But if you build your life on character, on truth, on something eternal, you'll stand tall even when the world turns its back. I've seen fame come and go. I've seen people rise and fall. But the ones who last, the ones who are remembered, they're the ones who didn't just entertain us. They inspired us, not with noise, but with their integrity. Not with their popularity, but with their principles. So I'm here to tell you, it's not about the claps. It's about the cause. It's not about being seen. It's about being real. And if you can walk through life knowing who you are, standing on what you believe, and treating people with kindness and respect, then you've already won, applause or not. Because at the end of it all, the lights will dim, the noise will die down, and all that will remain is who you chose to be. And that is everything. Somewhere along the way, I realized something. Applause is temporary. It feels good. Yeah, those standing ovations, those flashing cameras, the pats on the back. But that's not what keeps you going. That's not what wakes you up in the morning and gives you strength when the weight gets heavy. Applause fades. It dies out the moment the curtain falls or the credits roll. But purpose stays. Purpose whispers to you when the crowd is gone. It reminds you why you started, even when you feel like quitting. I didn't always understand that. When I was young, fresh, hungry, chasing the next role, the next to be noticed. I wanted the validation. I wanted to be told I was good, that I had made it. But with time, with failure, with silence, I learned that chasing applause is a dangerous game, because the moment they stop clapping, you start doubting yourself. And that's no way to live. That's not a foundation you can build anything real on. You've got to root yourself in something deeper, something eternal. I had to ask myself, what do I stand for? What do I believe in when the camera shut off? What legacy am I leaving behind when my name isn't trending, when the lights dim, when the room goes quiet? That's when I began to focus not on being recognized, but on being remembered, not for fame, but for faith, for impact, for the way I walked through life when no one was looking. Because you can't fake purpose. You can't rehearse it. It's not a script someone hands you. Purpose is lived. It's breathed. It's fought for in the dark. There were roles I turned down. Not because they didn't pay enough or weren't big enough, but because they didn't align with who I am, because they didn't honor the calling I felt on my life. And let me tell you, that's not always easy. Turning down applause, turning down opportunity, because something inside you says, that's not your path. That takes faith. That takes vision. That takes knowing who you are and what you're here to do. And when you walk in that kind of clarity, you stop chasing people's approval. You start chasing something higher. I believe we all have a divine purpose. We weren't put here just to be liked. We weren't put here to trend. We were put here to grow, to serve, to lift others, to walk with integrity, even when it cost us. And every time I've walked in alignment with that purpose, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was lonely, it always led me somewhere powerful, somewhere lasting. See, applause will make you popular. But purpose will make you powerful. And when I speak to young people, actors, dreamers, students, believers, I always tell them, don't confuse attention with achievement. Don't confuse fame with fulfillment. You can have the world cheering for you and still feel empty. You can have the awards, the house, the interviews, and still wake up lost. But when you're living in your purpose, even the quiet days are meaningful. Even the struggles are sacred. You begin to see failure not as a setback, but as a setup for something greater. I didn't get here alone. And I didn't get here by just doing what looked good. I got here by listening to God, to my instincts, to my soul when it said, this is your lane. Stay in it. Purpose will never lead you astray. It might lead you through fire. It might lead you through valleys. But it won't lie to you. It won't use you and discard you like applause does. Purpose builds you. It strengthens you. And when you finally reach the mountaintop, when you look back and see the road you walked, you'll know that every sacrifice was worth it. So don't wait on the cheers. Don't wait for someone else to tell you you're enough. Start now, walk now, build now, in silence, in struggle, in faith. Because when you choose purpose over praise, you win in ways the world can't measure. Some of the most important victories in life happen when no one is watching. No cameras, no awards, no standing ovation. Just you and the decision you made in silence. That's where the real growth happens. That's where character is formed. People often see the spotlight. They see the red carpet. They see the applause. But they don't see the late nights, the quiet prayers, the private tears, the doubts that creep in when the world is silent. They don't see the fight behind the smile. The truth is, some of the most meaningful wins are the quiet ones, the ones that never make headlines. I've had moments in my life where the biggest triumph wasn't landing a role, it was walking away from one. It wasn't the movie premiere, it was the moment I said no behind closed doors because the project didn't align with who I am. That's a quiet win. That's victory without applause. And those wins, they stay with you. They strengthen you. They remind you of what truly matters. Not everything worth celebrating comes with a trophy. Sometimes it's just the peace you feel when your head hits the pillow at night. There were years in my life when I had to silence the noise. When the outside world said one thing, but my spirit said something else. I've had to trust that inner voice more than the crowd. Because if you live for the cheers, you'll die with the boos. You can't build your foundation on applause. It shifts too easily. One day they love you, the next day they don't. That's the game. But quiet wins are eternal. They're rooted in truth. They're rooted in obedience. They're rooted in purpose. You know, I think back to the early days, before anyone knew my name, before the awards, before the interviews, before the suits. There were days I questioned everything. Days I was broke. Days I wanted to quit. And on those days, there was no one clapping. But I kept going. I kept praying. I kept preparing. Not because someone was watching, but because I knew God was watching. And that's the only audience that matters. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to your soul. And your soul always remembers the quiet battles you fought and won. There's a different kind of strength that comes from silent endurance, from staying committed when you're overlooked, from putting in the work even when no one is giving you credit. That's a different muscle. That's not talent. That's character. And that kind of strength, it doesn't fade with time. It only gets stronger. Because you're not depending on validation to keep going. You've learned how to encourage yourself. You've learned how to clap for yourself when no one else does. And that, right there, is one of life's greatest skills. Learning how to clap for yourself in the silence. I've seen people fall apart because the noise stopped. The lights dimmed. The fans moved on. And they didn't know who they were without the attention. That's dangerous. That's why I tell people, build in the dark, grow, win in the dark. Because when you finally step into the light, it won't change you. It won't shake you. It won't define you. You'll already know who you are. You've already won long before they even noticed you. I'm not saying applause is bad. It feels good. Recognition is nice. But it's not the goal. The goal is impact. The goal is purpose. The goal is to finish well. So when you make that choice to do the right thing, even if nobody knows, even if nobody thanks you, that's a win. When you forgive someone who hurt you and you never speak about it again, that's a win. When you wake up and keep showing up for your dream, even when the world is silent, that's a win. Those are the victories that shape your destiny. Those are the quiet wins that echo louder than any applause ever could.